So G, at so Modone, the drama queen, said on CTA that the first time you met at Homeboyz, you told her she needs to make songs that sound like Manyake for her to make it in the industry.
For the record, I never told Mudhoni to make Manyake. It was a metaphor to mean a big song. A Kenyan hit song. You cannot do 5 Manyakes all sounding the same. It was a metaphor
unless you're ethic.
I don't know how ethical that is. So it was a metaphor to mean that, but my experience at that time was like to grab the attention of the audience, you do something that is a bit more popular based. Then when you have the attention of the people, you can give them your art the way you want them to absorb it. At least you can evolve with your audience. First, my philosophy up to date is capture the audience, then direct them. Yeah.
So from your wide experience being in the game for a while, how long do you think it's gonna take our industry before we get back to that golden generation of Ogopa and Calif and Homeboyz?
I don't believe there's anything like a golden. In fact, I was having this conversation with DJ John. Every generation has its sound and has its art. If you ask our parents, their golden age is their soul. But for me, it's not my golden music. For me, my golden music is Tupac and Biggie.
Yeah, but now just looking at the industry, why I'm just saying golden is because of how big the industry was and how much influence.
It's much bigger now. Way bigger now. That's the beauty of that era. It was the foundation era. That's when we were laying the groundwork for what's to come.
Right.
But it's not that it was bigger. Right? You cannot compare. Revenue-wise, you cannot. Miles apart. Fan base-wise, miles apart. So you can't compare those two generations in the same metrics. You have to look at them at their historical relevance.
Right.
That was when we were laying the foundation. We were doing the trench work that the artists right now are enjoying. The infrastructures, the fighting for our rights, the epoxy pressure, you know, fighting for MCSK and all that stuff. By the time I was coming in to work with P Unit, we started now really being involved with the CMOs and participating in them, asking for accountability. And right now, a lot of things have been streamlined. They are not to the most optimum point yet, but at least you can see a lot of change in how they're operating. Of course, we still have the gremlins of politics, you know, mismanagement, but you cannot compare them to those, you know, yonder years, as they call them. So for me, I look at it like that was the groundwork period. And that's why it's so relevant to a lot of people, because that really pointed us to the direction where we need to take our music industry. Yeah. But right now, I mean, it's the best time to be in the music business.
I agree completely. I mean, 23 years in the game, man. Congratulations. That is legendary. Buddha. So, and I'm looking at all these years, from the time when you began in the 90s to now in 2020, technology has drastically changed.
Oh, yes.
And that has affected how music is produced, how music is distributed, and the whole business.
Yes.
How much in 2020 do you as Musyoka rely on technology to make music?
100%. Completely 100%. The only technology I don't rely on is my brain.
Okay.
It's always been there
with
me. But in terms of production, editing, composing, the workflow, the entire workflow, and you know, from the mixing to the recording to the editing, to the delivery to the purchasing, it's all technology driven right now.
I agree.
Yeah.
And Nini, what would you say is the X factor in music now? Is it still talent?
Talent has never been the X factor.
Okay, so
charisma,
what is the
charisma is always what carries the day.
Okay. An charisma kaule boy wale band.
Kitu gani hiyo? Like you have to be somebody who fans can feel endeared to. You know, like a demigod. You know, like somebody who has clout, somebody who can, you know, can influence people. So for me, that's what I always look at the most. Talent is important. You know, but these things don't work separate. You must have that, because I know a lot of very good, talented people, but they cannot stand and entertain anyone. I know a lot of people who have half the talent but are entertaining as F, you know. For me, that is how I look at an artist. Like when you look at somebody like Nonini, just the moment he starts to talk, you know, you're like, there's something about this guy that's grand, you know. When you look at, you know, all the big artists, that's something that endears us to them. You know, we revere them.
Nonini alikuwa na feel beat mpaka kwa haga.
Yeah, I mean, for me, like when you look at Bien, when Bien opens his mouth, you know this guy, you're just going to be mesmerized by what he's going to say.
Yes.
For me, that's the biggest X factor. That's what, it's not something that you can quantify. It's not something you can put a finger on. It's just an intuition that you can tell this person has that. Yeah.
Who would you say is the hottest new artist in Kenya right now?
Branadra.
Rigging. Rigging. Aside the decimators.
I cannot.
Aside the decimators.
How do I mention somebody else? I've invested in these kids.
I know, but also, where now you're a godfather in the industry. Decimators new.
For me, my dream artist, honestly, I think Boutros Monene is.
Shout out to the sharp guard.
Have
you worked with him before?
Not yet. We've not had an opportunity to, but like, I really dig his vibe. I really dig. Like, there's just something about him. Like, you know, I especially because, you know, Boutros is somebody I've seen from a while back. It's somebody I've, you know, been watching what he's doing, and I really think he may not be celebrated the way he should be, but he's
gonna get there. I believe he's gonna get there. Now that you haven't worked with Boutros, who's you think is the hottest new artist now aside the decimators? Assuming you get in studio with Boutros tomorrow, what is
Can I mention another one? Zero.
Yes. Zero Sufuri. Hey.
So for me, Boutros and Zero are like the third artist I'd put in that class is Reckless.
Yeah.
Okay. There are several artists that I'm really.
So if Boutros walked in studio like tomorrow, what would your first? Now you haven't worked with him, so what would your first encounter with him be like?
Just try to understand where he wants to go musically, what he wants to do with his career. Yeah.
So assuming you are composing a track now with maybe a guy like Boutros, who you're familiar with the music but you haven't worked with. So when you are in the process of creating, do you create with your style and personality in mind, or do you just present yourself and let the rest take care of itself?
I create with the personality in mind, and that's why I don't do beats and give you beats, go right.
Yes.
For me, it has never worked. I've never worked like that. When I was working with Okoflani, like when you listen to the kind of hip hop I'm doing right now, it's tailored to the artists of the moment. When I was working with Okoflani, my mind frame was their sound, their style of rapping, their technique, their presentation. That's how I approached it. When I'm working with P-Unit, I look at them as a group. You just don't look at it like a style of music.
Yeah. So you would say most of the music that Musyoka has produced, the beats are not done up front?
No, I rarely make tracks up front. Even if I'm making a track up front, I have the artist in mind. I know who is going to sound. From even a mix point, from even an engineering point, I'm like, this voice works with these instruments. Such things. Like when I did Her Hair for Just a Band, I originally had done the track for P-Unit. But halfway through that song, it just wasn't working for them. Now after I completed the vision, I'm like, the drum pattern, the sounds, the melody structure, nah.
Because I'm thinking
it doesn't work for them.
You could make the dopest beats, but you need an artist in the same zone or caliber to bring out a really good song. Because you could have a really dope beat and a really bad song. So so that makes like a lot of sense in terms of your approach. So how many projects, like on average, would you say you started working on and didn't finish? Like, is this a common thing?
That's 70%. You've only heard of the 30%.
Are you serious?
Oh yeah.
So how do you know? Okay, then if you have a lot of beats that never see the light of day,
they're never complete.
So how do you know a beat is complete? Like, what is the gauge? How do you know a beat is
when
done?
It's on iTunes. Because you tend to find that you start something and then at some point the project doesn't go through.
Okay.
So I adapt that sound to somebody else. I rework a few things. For me, I just keep them as templates. I'm like, okay, this didn't work out. At least maybe the drums from here, the snares from here, the bass from here is something I dig. I'll just save that as a template. I'll know where to use it in future.
So talking about the whole process.
For example, like Kare.
Yes.
The melody and the violins were a track I was working on for Sheila Mwanyiga.
Shout out to Nikki.
But then Nikki. But then I just felt that it was too slow for her. So what did I do? I doubled the tempo. And then I added new drums and it became a new song for P-Unit.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, just describing the whole process of engineering, because now this is beyond just making a beat.
Yeah.
Do you consider yourself a recording engineer or a mixing engineer?
I'm a businessman.
So both.
Who can just do a lot of stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what's the best part of being an engineer or producer?
Just tweaking things, you know, just playing with sound, you know, layering things. Like some of the best songs I've done have been the simplest I've done.
Tell me your favorite 3 songs that you've produced.
Hahe, You Guy, and TID Watasema.
Kada is not there, Kare is
No,
not
they are there, but you see they fall... For me, in terms of work, like those songs were so simple. The songs were so simple that I was, you know, the outcome was like, those are the simplest songs I've ever done. Yeah. Like, those are songs, Watasema TID literally worked. I did that track in like 10 minutes because it's a guitar loop, bass, drum, snare, bass. Like literally in 10 minutes I was done. The following day TID recorded, I mixed that song. The third day it was out.
Wow.
You Guy, the same thing. I just looked a bam bam loop, bass. Just added snare.
Bit Haga.
In fact, Vera was an entity in that project. Vera was an accident in the
Vera ndo
project.
alifanya tukapenda ngoma. Okay, I'm messing. The beat was fire, the sample was fire.
Yeah, so like it was very simple.
Okay.
It was very simple.
So,
I had the same thing.
Same process.
Yeah.
So who's the favorite artist you've ever worked with?
Hi, there are many. Whoa. All of them.
Choma, Usiogope, we'll edit
No,
this
all
out.
of them.
You tell me, this is for me. This won't make it.
You see, like,
final.
I can't say I have one specific because every artist has their own strength and their own, you know, personality and uniqueness.
Okay.
So I really can't put one that I'm like, you know, this is my favorite artist because all the jobs I've done are so different. Everybody brings something different to the table.
Okay.
It's a different experience for all of them and I've enjoyed immensely.
So finally, quick fire.
Yeah.
Ready?
Yes.
So you got married at 25.
Yep.
Which is now like the age I'm now. And so the only thing I can get married to is my mask and sanitizer because of COVID. What are some of the things you had to unlearn about fatherhood, and how easy is it to raise people, man?
About fatherhood, like...
That's something you had to unlearn.
It doesn't come automatically and don't beat yourself when you make mistakes.
Okay.
Yeah. Every child is different.
Just like every beat is different.
Yeah. Every child is different. Treat every child with their own uniqueness and their own abilities and talents.
So now, still at 5 kids, ama umefanya ile kitu tena?
5.
Umefunga?
I don't know.
You've been a mentor at Blaze.
Yeah.
I just want to know what that means to you. You know, passing the knowledge and information that you have to the younger generation. What does that mean to you?
It's one of the best things that I could ever embark on, and thanks to Safaricom for that, because it helps empower the next generation of artists. We never had these opportunities.
Okay.
A lot of things we learned on the job. And what does that do for you? You learn all the mistakes. By the time you are unlearning them, you know, it takes you back. Like things like music business. I learned about music business way late into the business. But
now ulinidanganya, you learned that from the jump.
From the jump, how? From the start? No, like I looked at it like a business.
Oh, I got you.
Like my mindset is a business mindset. But there was no place I could go and learn these things. Yeah. So I made a lot of mistakes, you know, signing contracts, accepting deals, you know, such things. I regret nothing. It's just that if I had some knowledge, my negotiation ability would have been much better.
Because you were basically laying the blueprint for that in the market.
Exactly. And there was no YouTube, there was no internet, there was nowhere you could Google. Google was your mistake. You mistake, you're like, hey, hapa nimechomeka. You go back and, you know, rework your strategy again.
23
but now at Blaze, we are able to, you know, compile all this information
and help the
and tell these guys, you know,
and the zero sufuri so that they know how to navigate.
Exactly.
Especially because the music business is a really dirty business.
Exactly.
23 years later, what next for Musyoka? Like, after 23 years, what do you do? Aside having more babies.
More babes or babies?
Both. Maybe you have an open marriage, who knows?
No entanglements.
Yeah, so what next for Musyoka?
I mean, for me, it's just doing what I do best. I mean, honestly, I don't have anything like a retirement plan or exit strategy. Of course, at some point, I love to, you know, let it go. But right now I feel like stuff is popping off so well. The opportunities are just growing every day. The landscape is changing. So for me, I'm also learning a lot, especially from the young artists, their mindset, how they're looking at things. So for me, it's just a learning process and just improving what I have and just diversifying what I can do.
Got you.
But at 45, I'm retiring for sure.
Ujafika 45?
No.
Uko 40?
Another couple of
months.
Less than half a decade, I'll be out.
So thank you so much for pulling up and sharing all the information and wealth that you have, and also for allowing me to kick your ass at this racing thing. Don't worry, I hope I didn't bruise your ego too much. And watch out for my EP, executively produced by Musyoka, engineered and all that. Si tumemaliza contract.
Bas.
Asante baba.